I astral projected. It was more than 10 days ago. I made a video on it and then I just decided to just make this one so I can just, now I've had time to digest experience and just deliver a more straightforward description of the experience. Like there are other videos that I've made, like recent videos where I talk about a certain experience with astral projection and how I've been hesitating when I encounter that experience. This most recent astral projection experience isn't that one. This was just, I was taking a nap and I then found myself in the vibrational state and I could feel it like over my head here. I was actually sleeping on my right side and I could feel it here. And I remembered to call my teacher because I told my teacher, like, when it happens, like, can I call you? And, you know, that would, I think, feel like reassuring or give me more confidence to move forward in the experience. This was just like another kind of astral projection experience, not like the one where I've been hesitating, but still, I remembered I was in the vibrational state and I told my teacher, like in my mind, I called him and I said, hey, like I'm here again. Like I'm here, like inviting him to go with me. So then the vibrational state kept going and going and I was just there, you know, enduring the vibrational state, going through the vibrational state. And then everything went completely still. And then I rolled out. I rolled out to my left, but at the point where I rolled out, I was already like switched around. Like my head was where my feet actually were. Like my energetic body, you know, was actually already flipped around and then I rolled out. And I went off and I was out. I did encounter my teacher. I did find out later after when I woke up that he had called, he had messaged me twice and then had called twice within a short period of time, like within minutes, the calls. And it seemed like that was very likely around the time that I had called him in my mind. So I found that experience interesting. I told him about it too. I was like, hey, I was like calling you and like I see that like you know, like these messages and calls and like, and he said, oh, interesting. And that's like the only feedback I got. But yeah, it was actually like 3 times where I left my body and it was like this swimming, like floating. It kind of felt like, you know, like when you see astronauts on the moon, that kind of bouncy feeling. And then I just kind of swim, kind of like the breaststroke, sort of like without like putting my head underwater and lifting it back up, just like having my head up and just kind of moving that way. And for some reason, I'm able to like float and travel. And then it became like kind of dreamlike, like I was encountering people, like I encountered a large group of people and I was interacting with them and stuff. And then I ended up back in my body and then I left again and then I came back. And what was interesting was when I came back to my body, my eye, like I don't know if I like moved it like just a tiny bit, but I was actually able to see out of my eye and I was able to see what was in front of me and like the way I was sleeping and stuff, like that's actually what was in front of me. And then I took off again. And then the last time I took off, I actually went toward an area where I have this other experience that I want to experience in astral projection where I feel like there's possibly a non-physical intelligent being, possibly a portal. I don't know what it is, but I'll be awakened at night and it feels like there's something out in this particular like southeast corner of like from where I'm sleeping and like I'm going to encounter something, and that's what I've been hesitating. So although I wasn't having that particular experience, I still went outside to that area. What was interesting was like the first one, because there were like 3 exits and then I would come back and then take off and come back. I found that really interesting. The first one I just went straight through the front door. This last one, like the 3 that I had, the last one where I went into the backyard, I put my hands out and this is like, I guess like an energetic body, and I like felt the sliding glass door. So like I opened it, you know, energetically in that state. The actual sliding glass doors didn't open, but like I opened it in that state and then went out, and it was it was like dark, but there was light out. Like it was actually darker than what it actually was, like while I was taking the nap, but there was light. And I'm like, okay, here it is. And I felt very just like, wow, I'm actually out here and looking around to see. And there was this light. It was like a soft orange light, and it was like this glow, and it was like um coming from like something over the house. And I looked, and it was actually warm, and but I couldn't see the source. It seemed like it was like further over the house. And then there was this other part of the experience where I looked up at the sky and I started cheering and cheering and I had my arms up and I was cheering and cheering. And I remember years ago when I started first having like lucid dreams, I'd have to be really calm with how I would feel. If I would get too excited, I would wake up. But this last experience, I was actually cheering, like cheering at a sports game, like that kind of cheering. And I didn't like it didn't make me wake up. So then I came back and then I was able to see, like I opened my eyes, and then I opened my eyes and I'm like, yeah, like this is what was in front of me. Like this is the position that I was in when I came back, and I got like this little peek out of my eye, one of my eyes, I think it was. And this is like exactly the position that I was in. Like I would take off and come back and like be here and then take off and come back. This second experience, for some reason, I don't recall it. I felt like I recalled it like right when I was waking up, like at least a little bit. I'm not really sure. I don't know why I don't remember it. I don't know if it's because like our brain is like in a different state or something during that time. But um yeah, that was neat. I think that it's encouraging me. Like it's a step in the right direction for when I have that experience that I've been hesitating to have, which is when it feels like I am awakened at night by something. Something wakes me up. It'll be like a noise or something within a type of dream. And then I actually wake up and I'm in this vibrational state, and it's this pulling feeling, and I feel like I'm going to go somewhere. So now I feel more encouraged. I remember to call my teacher. Interestingly enough, I think he responded. It's very likely that he did, because the time that when I fell asleep, I was able to check text messages and get an idea of how long I was asleep. And like, I don't know, like approximately like when I could have called him in my mind, it was like pretty closely matched. And so I was able to remember to do that. And I was able to run out to that area, like, oh, this is where that happens. And, so hopefully I have that experience again soon, the one that I've been hesitating, and I can just go for it and see what it is and just experience it. Other realms, I feel more comfortable with this last experience, more comfortable having like more experiences. um it's just like it's such an amazing thing for consciousness to be able to do that. It's so amazing. It's like it's so amazing, you know I just wonder, like through history and like different parts of the world and stuff, and at different times, like people that knew this and were doing this, and like how it connected to like this place, where we are here. And just how different societies were and stuff at different times, on like what they knew and how they were and stuff. It just makes me think about so much. It's so thought provoking. So yeah, I wanted to share that most recent experience. I'm really glad that I had it. I would like to have more. And all I basically had to do this time was just stay aware and just stay calm through the vibrational state. And then it just all of a sudden the vibrational state went away completely, and I rolled out. And it wasn't even like I was trying to roll out or anything. It was just like there was this stillness all of a sudden, and then all of a sudden I became aware of like how I was positioned, like that and then I just rolled out. Yeah, I'm just gonna try that. Like, and I've had that happen before where the vibrational state will all of a sudden go away, and then it's easy to separate. So I feel like it's right after the vibrational state, at least for me. And then the vibrational state feels different at different times. And it's, another thing that I experienced I thought was interesting was like during one of the times that because I left and came back, left and came back, left and came back. One of the times, the vibrational state, I could feel it in both of my ears. It was like in other parts, I could feel it, but I really like felt it in my ears. And it was to the point where I was going to try to move my arm and like move to see what was going on. It was such a different feeling. But it was definitely the vibrational state, and it was definitely in my ears. So that's an update with, an astral projection experience.